My name is Clara Wren, and I'm 31. I've been called dependable, steady, the kind of person who keeps a spare pen, pays bills early, and answers family calls even when she shouldn't. I work in a medical billing office in downtown Minneapolis, where lunch is usually half a sandwich, half an email, and the hum of fluorescent lights filling the silence between keystrokes. That afternoon, my phone buzzed against a coffee mug. Family group chat. I almost smiled, expecting a grocery question or a forwarded prayer chain. Instead, the message loaded clean and cold. We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away from us forever. It was signed with my parents' names, Dad first. Always. For a second, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Then a small heart icon appeared under the text, my sister Emily's reaction. A digital nod of agreement. The office smelled like reheated salmon from someone's lunchbox. My sandwich tasted like metal. I stared at the screen until my pulse slowed, then typed the only reply that made sense. I'll remove my name from every loan tomorrow. No exclamation, no punctuation war, just numbers to untangle, names to erase. A few coworkers laughed at something near the printer. Outside the window, a thin layer of snow clung to parked cars. I silenced the group chat, finished my sandwich, and went back to reviewing claims for insurance codes. All afternoon, I moved through the motions clean, efficient, invisible. By 5, the sun was gone and the city lights were coming on, bright and cold as logic. On the bus ride home, I opened my notes app and made a list: mortgage, truck, Emily's car, kitchen remodel. Each line felt like a small incision. Tomorrow, I'd start cutting clean. Before dawn, the apartment was still and colorless, the kind of quiet that holds its breath. I made coffee strong enough to sting, then cleared the dining table and laid out everything that had my name on it: mortgage statements, the truck lease, the kitchen remodel loan, and Emily's car payment schedule, paper spread like wings, edges curling from heat and years. Each line item carried the weight of a promise I'd signed to keep peace, to keep them proud, to keep the family machine running. The numbers blurred at first, a mess of balances and due dates. But underneath the math was something simpler, proof of how I'd tried to earn love by guaranteeing it. Every payment had been a gesture, a peace offering disguised as responsibility. I dialed the bank, pressing 0 through the automated menu until a real voice answered, a woman named Kelly. Careful and polite. When I asked how to remove myself from the mortgage, her tone softened. You can't just erase your name, she said. You'd have to refinance or sell the property. The words sat heavy on the table between us, even through the line. Then I guess we sell, I said. After the call, I opened a clean notebook and drew 2 columns: debt they built and peace I'm buying back. Under the first, I listed every account. Under the second, I left room for my name without theirs. Outside, snow drifted against the window in slow, forgiving motion. I watched it settle over the city, covering the sidewalks and cars, erasing footprints from the night before. I began filing the papers into labeled folders, one form at a time, deliberate as surgery. Every stapled page I sealed felt like closing a wound. By sunrise, the stack was smaller, but my chest felt lighter. They had given me the kind of love that came with invoices. Now I was learning the language of release. By mid-morning, the snow had turned to a thin mist that blurred the streets. I drove across town with both hands steady on the wheel, heater humming low, folders stacked on the passenger seat. The list I'd written the night before sat folded in my coat pocket. First item circled Emily's car. Their neighborhood looked the same as always, tidy and overfed, the hedges trimmed, the porch flags crisp, the same bluebird feeder swaying above the steps. For years, I'd been the silent line of credit that kept that image intact. The white sedan gleamed in the driveway, washed clean of any reminder of who truly owned it. The title, insurance, registration, all in my name. She drove it to college, to jobs, to dates, never missing a chance to remind me how generous I was for helping. I parked a block away, stepped out, and let the cold air steady me. The keys felt sharp in my palm. When I unlocked the door, The sound was small but final, like a seal breaking. Inside, the car smelled of cheap perfume and fries. I slid behind the wheel, pressed start, and the engine turned obediently. No one came to the door. No curtains moved. I reversed down the drive and turned onto the street, the tires whispering over wet asphalt, at the red light by the old grocery store. I typed one message into the family group chat. Vehicle recovered. Emily can arrange other transportation. Then I silenced the thread. Back at my apartment, I parked the car beside my building. The afternoon light hit the windshield in clean stripes, and for the first time in months, something in me felt balanced. Hours later, my phone began to buzz. Calls, messages, voicemails stacked like static. Words flashed across the screen. Betrayal, ungrateful, sin. I took screenshots, naming each file by timestamp, by nightfall. The chat had erupted caps lock versus blame. I didn't respond. I sat on the couch, keys resting on my knee, the engine's phantom hum still under my skin. The quiet that followed wasn't victory. It was something steadier. Ownership. Finally audible in silence. By morning, my phone was already buzzing. I didn't need to open Facebook to know what had happened. Emily's outrage always needed an audience. But curiosity won. Her post filled the screen. My sister stole my car. After everything I've done for her, she showed up like a thief in daylight. A photo followed her old car, parked in front of my apartment building. My building, my name on the lease, my name on the title. My life now dragged into public court. The comments multiplied beneath it: family, friends, strangers with Bible verses and moral advice. Blood is thicker than pride. You can't buy forgiveness. Pray for reconciliation. A few distant cousins messaged me privately. Maybe apologize before it gets worse. I recognized none of their profile pictures, but they spoke like witnesses to a crime. I didn't respond. I scrolled once, took a breath, and opened my screenshot folder. Image, timestamp, save. Every post, every message, every quote about betrayal went into a labeled archive. By noon, the calls began blocked numbers, voicemails layered with sobbing or sermon tones. Mom's voice broke somewhere between anger and pity. Dad's came through in short, clipped threats about lawyers and police. I played each once, then filed them under evidence audio. At lunch, I called Lauren, an old classmate from college who'd become a lawyer for people like me, the reasonable ones accused of cruelty. She listened in silence until I ran out of words. Then she said to keep receipts. That night, I followed her advice. I exported the full chat history, converted screenshots to PDFs, backed everything up on 2 drives. The work felt sterile, but it steadied me. For the first time, I wasn't reacting, I was recording. Outside, the wind pushed sleet against the window. Inside, I labeled folders and sipped cold coffee, every click a boundary. I was learning that outrage traveled faster than facts, that silence was the only defense that didn't need proof. By midnight, my phone kept lighting up, notifications like sparks on dry ground. I turned the screen face down and let the noise burn itself out. The night was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the rain tapping against the window. I had just finished organizing the last folder when my phone rang. The screen showed one name I hadn't seen in months: Grandma Ruth. I hesitated before answering. Her calls were rare, always deliberate, never casual. "Hi, Grandma," I said, my voice smaller than I meant it to be. "I told your mother I'd hear your side first," she said. Her tone was calm, unshaken, the same voice that once soothed me through childhood stomachaches and teenage heartbreaks. The words opened something in me I hadn't realized was locked. I told her everything: the loans, the car, the messages, the public shaming, the silence that followed. I tried to keep my voice even, but it wavered somewhere between explanation and exhaustion. She didn't interrupt. I could hear the faint creak of her rocking chair, the slow rhythm of someone listening to understand, not to fix. When I finally ran out of words, the line went quiet for a few long breaths. "When your mother was young," she said softly. "She borrowed $5,000 from us. Promised to pay it back after her wedding. She never did. Said she thought it was a gift." Her voice cracked on the word gift, then steadied again. "Your grandfather was furious. I told him to let it go. Maybe I was wrong. Some people think love means endless rescue." The words landed gently, but they carried a lifetime. "You're right to stop drowning for them. Clara." I closed my eyes. The air in the apartment shifted, the same way it does before rain finally stops. My throat tightened, not from guilt this time, but from recognition of the pattern, the inheritance, the quiet cost of always being the dependable one. "Thank you," I whispered. It was all I could manage. "I'm proud of you," she said. "Not for fighting, for stopping." When the call ended, I sat in the half-light of the kitchen, phone warm in my palm, the hum of the refrigerator steady again. For the first time all week, my lungs remembered how to exhale in her voice. I had heard something I hadn't felt in years: permission to stop saving everyone else just to prove I was worth saving too. The next morning, I walked into the downtown branch of First Northern Bank. The floor gleamed under fluorescent light, too bright for how tired I felt. The teller recognized me from years of deposits and small talk, but her polite smile didn't reach her eyes when I said I needed to discuss removing my name from multiple loans. They led me to a cubicle where a financial officer named Mira sat behind a screen of polite detachment. I explained, line by line, which accounts were mine and which weren't really mine at all. She clicked through the files, her manicured nails tapping quietly. "You can refinance the truck," she said. "The mortgage, maybe, but the remodel loan, no, not unless it's paid off or settled." I expected that. I said. She gave a sympathetic look, the kind reserved for polite tragedies. "Your credit score might drop, around 60 points. I can live with that." When I left the bank, the wind carried the first bite of late winter. It felt clean on my face. By the time I reached my car, my phone vibrated an unknown number. A collector's voice, smooth as glass, informed me the kitchen remodel loan now stood at $13,000, interest and late fees included. "I can offer $5,000. I said, "one payment, but I need written confirmation that the account will be deleted, not marked settled." A pause, then a sigh. $5,000 and deletion in 30 days. The collector agreed. I typed every word into a note, forwarded it to Lauren, my lawyer friend. Minutes later, she replied with 2 sentences, wording acceptable. "Keep this letter." That afternoon, I mailed the cashier's check, then scanned the letter and added it to my binder labeled Freedom. The pages inside smelled faintly of ink and order. At home. I brewed tea and sat with the silence that followed. The credit apps on my phone flashed warnings about a lower score, but I didn't feel the sting. Freedom wasn't about higher numbers anymore. It was about no longer waking up in debt to people who called it love. For the first time in years, I wasn't improving anything, I was ending it, cleanly, and on purpose. Sunday morning arrived wrapped in filtered sunlight and noise. My phone was already buzzing before I'd even poured coffee. Emily had posted again this time a carousel of pastel devotionals about forgiveness. Each slide carried a verse, each caption a wound disguised as prayer. Some people cut family off when what they need is grace. The comments filled with hallelujahs and heart emojis. Mom shared it to her page with the verse about prodigal children. Underneath, she wrote, "Still praying for our daughter's heart." The word "our" hit harder than the rest, as if family were a border she could close and still claim ownership of the land inside. I closed the laptop. The room went quiet except for the low hum of the radiator. On the table sat the binder I'd built, the one labeled Freedom. I opened it slowly. Page by page loan letters, screenshots, certified receipts, every document sealed with time and proof. Some pages had my handwriting in the corner dates, initials, reference numbers. Others bore embossed notary stamps, small circles of quiet power. I ran my thumb along the edge of the binder, feeling the weight of order. It wasn't revenge, it was record-keeping. I wasn't defending myself anymore. I was protecting the truth before someone else rewrote it. The phone buzzed again. Lauren's name appeared on the screen. Her text was brief. "Silence is strategy." I exhaled, set the phone down face first, and went back to sorting. Outside, church bells echoed from down the block. Families in coats passed beneath my window, holding hands, heading toward sanctuaries built on mercy. I thought about how easily people mistake quiet for guilt, how faith becomes theater when performed online. By evening, the binder was closed, the house clean, the noise still circling somewhere far away. I opened the family group chat one last time, scrolled through the litany of scripture and accusation, then pressed mute indefinitely. The screen dimmed, the silence settled, and for the first time in weeks, I slept without waiting for my phone to light the dark. A few quiet weeks passed before I saw the notice. It came in the form of an automated alert from the county court system public record updates. My parents' names appeared side by side under bankruptcy filings. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen. I expected anger, maybe sadness, but what rose instead was steadiness. They had chosen pride over partnership, chosen to fight appearances instead of facts. I didn't cause their ruin, I'd simply stopped cushioning it. I opened another tab and searched the county property listings. The house on Birchfield Drive was there, staged with professional lighting, bowls of fake fruit gleaming on the kitchen counter. The listing agent had written, "Charming family home with character and history." I almost laughed. History. Yes. Character. Debatable. Lauren forwarded an email later that day. "Closing in 30 days. I scrolled to the attached forms, signed each one digitally, initials in small, neat letters. No visit, no statement, just completion. On the 30th day, another message arrived, wire confirmation received. My share $20,000. The amount wasn't life-changing, but it felt like punctuation at the end of a long, unfinished sentence. I moved the money into savings, then closed the browser. Outside, the afternoon light slid pale across the windowsill. The air smelled faintly of paper and calm. For a few minutes, I sat there, letting the stillness expand. No triumph, no sorrow, just the kind of quiet that follows a storm when you finally realize the walls have held. Then I picked up my phone, scrolled through the group chat that had once been constant noise versus guilt, shouting and pressed delete conversation. The screen went white for a second, then empty. It didn't feel like erasing family. It felt like removing clutter someone else had mistaken for love. The new apartment smelled faintly of fresh paint and cardboard. It wasn't large, just one bedroom, a narrow kitchen, and a window that overlooked Loring Park, but it was mine. My loan. My rules. The closing had gone smoothly, signatures clean, numbers clear. For once, every page bore only my name. The first night, I slept on the floor beside unpacked boxes, listening to the wind rattle against the glass. The city hummed below distant traffic, laughter, the low thrum of a bus passing through snow. It didn't sound lonely. It sounded earned. A week later, Grandma Ruth arrived, small suitcase in one hand and a thermos of soup in the other. She moved through the doorway like she belonged there, her eyes sweeping over the bare shelves. The calm space. "Perfect," she said, setting the soup on the counter. "No ghosts in this place." Over lunch, she handed me an envelope, pale blue, her handwriting steady. Inside, a personal check. "For your buffer, not your burden," she said. I tried to protest, but she raised a hand, firm and kind. "Receive care without arguing it away." Her words landed softly, the way only truth can. I realized how little I understood about help that didn't come with conditions, about kindness that didn't need repayment. We ate by the window while snow fell in thin, patient flakes. The world outside was white and still, as if everything old had been folded and stored elsewhere. After she left, I unpacked 3 small succulents I'd bought from a street vendor, short. Stubborn little plants that asked for almost nothing. I lined them along the windowsill, one for each boundary I'd kept. The apartment was silent except for the faint ticking of the radiator. It was a quiet I hadn't known before, the kind that didn't demand explanation. By the time spring arrived, the apartment had softened into a rhythm that felt like breathing. Morning light spilled across the floorboards, steady and pale. Catching the curve of the 3 succulents on the sill, the bills paid themselves. The phone stayed on silent, and the world no longer felt like a courtroom waiting for my defense. I made coffee and opened the old folder one last time. The files, the screenshots, the contracts all there, untouched for weeks. At the very top was the first message, still frozen in gray bubbles. We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away from us forever. It didn't sting anymore. It just glowed faintly, like an exit sign after a fire drill proof that I'd found the right door out. I archived the folder, then closed the laptop for good. The window was open a crack, and the air carried the sound of children playing somewhere below. I watered the plants, watching droplets trace down thick green leaves. Each one stood upright now, alive, unbothered. When I grabbed my coat, I caught my reflection in the glass, tired. Yes, but clear. I locked the door behind me and stepped into the hallway. The world smelled new, full of things that didn't ask me to explain myself. Halfway down the block, my phone buzzed. A message from someone new. We'd met at the coffee shop near the park, quiet, kind, patient in the way that doesn't test you. Hey, are you free Saturday? I didn't overthink. I typed back, yes. As I slipped the phone into my pocket, the sun caught the glass of nearby windows, scattering small, brief lights across the street. Peace, I realized, wasn't a finish line or a reward. It was the simple act of walking forward without permission.